Everything here today is trash. But I'm here to answer one question. Of all this trash, what is the best trash? Spoiler alert, it's me. This is a funny idea I've wanted to do for a while, just basically ranking nutritionally what of these are the best. Not what tastes better, like I've seen people do that, but has anyone done this? I don't know. And as a disclaimer, I'm not promoting any of these foods. These are all trash foods, but some worse than others. And if something is an S tier, it doesn't mean it's good for you, okay? It's all relative. It's like, oh, it's pretty good for trash, you know? This is kind of what I'm getting at here. I'll explain a few like healthier variants as well, but overall, I'll take an average of like the whole kind of food class, if you want to call it food. There's a bit of a reach with some of these things, but anyway, pizza. So obviously the toppings are going to be a big point of variation here, so I'm not going to spend too much time on there because you can just argue either side. It's a little bit pointless, but I want to talk about the oil here because this is a big factor, right? Because, you know, if you buy like a cheap pizza from a fast food chain, it's probably pretty oily, and if you have been watching this channel for a while, will know that certain fats are very unstable, and if you cook them, they release a lot of inflammatory free radicals, which are not good for you, okay? And some of these like cheaper kind of fast food pizza chains, like if you take Pizza Hut, I think they use soy oil. So you don't want to be like a soy oil inflammatory man. Soy oil's really pro-inflammatory. Some other joints, I think Papa John's uses canola. I think Domino's might use canola as well. But these aren't really that much better. So coincidentally, if you go higher end, they're probably, you know, using olive oil, you know, the proper Italian way. So those would be a lot better. But overall, pizza still actually has some micronutrient content. You can actually get some decent stuff based on the toppings, you know, if it's meaty based. The cheese doesn't really help. The fact that it's white dough doesn't really help. But I'll put it in the middle. There's also a little bit of protein in there, surprisingly. But you know, I've seen a lot worse. Next up is cake, and this is a funny one. So I'll explain to you what cake season means. Basically, I've always had a tough time gaining weight. Over time, I've learned to eat more, and you know, it's not really an issue for me anymore. And I'd add all the ingredients together. You know, most of the ingredients are trash. You know, there's a little bit of like milk and eggs, which I guess are fine, but that's only a small proportion of the total thing, right? Like the rest of the stuff, like white flour, sugar, butter. Oh my days, the butter. So much butter. Like, I can't believe it's all butter. And then the icing is literally just like butter with sugar and like a little bit of flavoring. And then I'd like mash it all together so it wouldn't dry out in the fridge. So I'd have this lump, this brick of absolute filth that I'd tuck into a little bit each night. The total calories was like 4.4 calories per gram. Okay. Sugar is 4.0, so, thanks to all the butter. So yeah, super calorically dense, usually very easy to overeat on as well. A lot of sugar, a lot of saturated fat. And I guess my housemates at the time didn't enjoy the jokes of me saying I was gonna cover myself in butter and crawl into their bed at night. But that's alright, because they never woke up when I did it. Popcorn. Popcorn, of all these things, actually has a pretty good micronutrient profile, as well as got a little bit of protein in there too. But, you know, magnesium, iron, zinc. Some of these things aren't even that easy to get, particularly zinc. Some people struggle with iron. It's still less bioavailable because it's a plant, but, you know, it's pretty good compared to everything else here. You can enjoy it as well without really overeating, just because by the time you make it, it's mostly air, right? So you can eat that for a while and still not really eat that much of it. And just, if you're buying store-bought, just check for trans fats. Okay, these are poison, to put it lightly. They'll bump up, you'll completely wreck your blood lipids. They'll raise your bad cholesterol and lower your good cholesterol. So we don't want these. They're getting phased out now because we know how harmful they are. But these can be a culprit with microwave popcorn, so just double check that. I was looking into what they use for movie theater popcorn as far as the oily stuff they put over top of it, and apparently it's butter-flavored coconut oil, which sounds like a heart attack waiting to happen, but I think it's okay. I think the butter flavoring isn't too negative towards health, I guess, and coconut oil is probably better than butter. It's got that lauric acid, which, although it's still a lot of saturated fats in here, it's the lauric acid can help with cholesterol levels, good cholesterol levels a little bit, so this is not too bad. Overall, popcorn S tier. Like, if you buy a store-bought without trans fat, honestly pretty good. Potato chips, I mean, it can depend a lot on the oil that's used. A lot of them use cheaper oils like, you know, canola and other seed oils, which can be problematic because they're like frying it in this, and as we know, we don't want these free radicals. You can get some chips that are, you know, fried in maybe like avocado or, you know, olive oil that will not produce nearly as much free radicals when you cook in them. So that can be helpful, but on the whole, you get some vitamin E, but that's only because they use seed oil. So I'm gonna put that there. I'll put it B tier. Actually, no, I'll put it C tier because it is missing the skin. And the potato skin is where most of the nutrients are. You know, your iron, your potassium, your vitamin C, that's all in the skin. So, yeah, there's not much going on with these potato chips. Anyway, cookies. I mean, you can do like oat cookies with dark chocolate, but at that point, is that even junk food? I don't know. A standard chocolate chip cookie, it's running into similar with the cake, like the I can't believe it's all butter syndrome. So I love these, but man, like don't go here. Chocolate's an interesting one because of course it varies a lot whether or not you're going milk or dark. Everyone says dark chocolate is a health food. I don't really agree. Yes, cacao powder will have some flavonoids which can help with systemic inflammation. Protect your cells from those nasty free radicals that you might be getting in some of these other foods like the potato chips. But the thing is, the flavonoid level is really low. I went down this rabbit hole before, and the amount of cacao powder or like dark chocolate you'd actually have to eat to get the flavonoids, it's like you're shoveling so much down just to get a minor change in inflammation. But by the time you get there, you're probably running into lead or cadmium poisoning, so it's not really that good. But as far as most chocolate goes, I mean, milk chocolate, sure, some sugar and saturated fat, but compared to some of the other things like cookies, it's not that easy to overeat on, which I think it has in its favor. And dark chocolate, not too bad for you either, so I'll put that in A tier. Sodas. Now, this can depend on just how scared you are of sugar. Basically, sugar can be pro-inflammatory if you are in poor health, and maybe you're running into some sort of like pre-diabetes, because the way it works is every time you eat sugar, your insulin response has to mop it all up, and it's hard to explain because inflammation and insulin sensitivity kind of go together. We don't really know too much about how this is all caused. We just know that inflammation's involved, and this kind of all snowballs and links together. So the reason that sugar can be pro-inflammatory is because your insulin response is weaker, because you're insulin insensitive, because you're in poor health, because you eat so much sugar, because it's pro-inflammatory, because you know, you see how confusing this is. But I think if you're in good health, I'm not that afraid of sugar. Also, zero sugar sodas, the artificial sweeteners we use nowadays are pretty safe. There was a lot of narrative as to saying, you know, these are going to destroy your gut health, but we still don't really have any evidence for this, so the only thing going against it really, they are quite acidic, and this can be problematic for teeth health as well. The phosphoric acid in it can reduce calcium absorption, which is problematic for bone health, particularly in like children or elder adults, because elder adults in particular, they're already absorbing less calcium already because they have less vitamin D synthesis, and vitamin D we need to improve calcium absorption. So healthy individuals, I'm not too scared of them. I'll put them in A tier. Now on to French fries, man. I love some French fries covered in salt and mayonnaise. I love it, but man, it goes back to the seed oil debate. Like most of the time, pretty much all of the time, these are going to be, you know, absolutely immersed in high temperatures in these cheap seed oils, which is pro-inflammatory, very pro-inflammatory. It's like we're taking a potato's fine, right? It's like, let's take off all the skin and cover it in inflammatory oil and cook the hell out of it. It's like there's not much nutrition left. If you want a way around this, you can go for like, maybe you go to the supermarket, get like a bag of, I would say wedges, because they have the skin on them, which has the nutrition in them, and then you can like air fry them or bake them. Yeah, regular French fries that you get from a fast food joint, pretty bad, man, pretty bad. I'm gonna put them down low. Ice cream. Now you're thinking, oh well, these are mostly milk, right? They might have some calcium, they might have a little bit of protein, but not really. I guess the one thing going for it in this array of junk is that it's mostly water, which means there's less things that aren't water, okay? And that means the actual saturated fat or sugar content compared to some of these other things won't actually be that high. And for that reason alone, I'm gonna put it in B tier, just because even if you eat quite a bit of it, you're not getting as much crap as you would with some of these other things. Like if you compare it to like French fries, it's just all trash, whereas ice cream might be 60% water-based and then 40% trash. So it's got that going for it. Next up we have donuts, and again, just kind of trash ingredients like white flour, sugar, butter. Hopefully not as much butter as some of these other culprits in D tier, but things. It's mostly just like fast digesting carbs. So it's like, oh, maybe like a pre-treated carb source. I guess you could do that. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but I mean, okay, I guess. So I'll put it in C tier. Burgers. Now, initially I was thinking, well, you know, it's like meat, it's bread, and it's some vegetables. Is it really that bad? But if you take a breakdown of, say, like a McDonald's or another fast food burger, it's white bread with a lot of, like a boatload of preservatives. It's beef, which is, you know, fine. But the beef is like fried in usually canola oil, and then it's got like a crumb of lettuce, which isn't going to add anything. It's not that micronutrient dense in these quantities, it's barely any. And then you've got some processed cheese. The most micronutrients you're going to get are just representative of the meat that's in there, so I guess that has something in there, but at least it's not like that high inflammatory, because it's, I don't know, it's probably just a little bit of oil on the patty compared to something like French fries. So I'll put that there in B tier. Like, at least you're getting some protein and some micros compared to some of the other things below it. That's kind of what holds the burger and the pizza in B tier, I guess. Like, if you're trading that out and you're having like cookies and cake and donuts for a meal, you're gonna feel terrible. You know, I'd much rather go for the burger and ice cream. I can't believe I'm saying this, dude. But anyway, fried chicken. The chicken is fine, of course. The breading is usually just flour and eggs. So far we're okay, so it kind of depends on how you cook it, okay? And a lot of fast food joints, like I think KFC uses, I think it's soy oil, which is problematic, probably one of the worst oils you can cook in, so that's not good. But some things like Chick-fil-A, I read they use peanut oil, which is actually really good. It's, you know, monounsaturated, so it's a lot more stable than the polyunsaturated. Polyunsaturated, you could argue, is better until you start cooking with them, and then they become problematic. But overall, they can be okay, you know. And because compared to French fries, if you think about surface area to volume, right? Because like a thin cut French fry, it's got not much volume, but so much surface area, so it's coming into so much more contact with the seed oils compared to something like chicken. So depending on where you get it, like honestly, a Chick-fil-A fried chicken probably isn't that bad. I'll put that in A tier, actually. Like, it can depend where you get it, of course, but honestly, a Chick-fil-A fried chicken, doesn't sound too bad to me. KFC maybe a bit lower. Now, candy. Some days I'll have candy before training, because I do like some quick digesting carbs before training. It can support your session. But outside of that, they're not, you know, they're not good for you. Again, it comes down to how scared you are of sugar. If you're in good health, I'm not too scared of sugar. The candy I buy is pretty much just glucose and gelatin. Be careful there, because there can be some other harmful emulsifiers. They might use some synthetic ones, which can be a little bit disruptive for digestion and gut health. But overall, I think candy, man, I don't think it's terrible. I think some of the other things below it are worse. It's making me want to pull up potato chips, but man, there's barely any that don't cook in seed oil, so I'll leave it there. Next up is cheese puffs. They're kind of just like saturated fats and cooked in seed oils, but they kind of have the popcorn effect, you know, the fact that you can eat a lot of it because it's mostly air. So I'm gonna put it kind of just in C tier. It's like, probably as trashy as the stuff in D tier, but the D tier stuff is way easier to overeat on, so I'll put it in C tier. A couple of these, I think Cheetos had some iron content, but I guarantee that's probably just like elemental iron, which is so not bioavailable. So, but yeah, that's my tier list. Let me know down below what you think about it. What are your thoughts? What do you, of all this trash, eat regularly? And if there's anything you think I missed, just drop it down below and I'll get back to you on where I'd put it on the tier list. But yeah, that's been me. If you enjoyed this video, there's some more there. I'll see you next time.